Ever since I was little, I had a hard time making decisions. I always narrow it down to two choices, and that's where I am perpetually on the fence. I think my reason about having a hard time making a decision comes from the fact that I worry. What if the thing that I said no to was actually the better choice? What if that option was way better and I should have picked that? Now, my earliest memory of this, of having a hard time making a decision, is when I am 7 years old. My mother takes me shopping for a bathing suit at Sears. Yes, because I'm a woman of an age who had to go shopping for a bathing suit at Sears. I spent over 2 hours in that change room with my very patient mother as I was crying because I contemplated, wavered, deliberated over those final 2 bathing suit choices. Did I want the white bathing suit with the strawberries or the yellow bathing suit with the polka dots? Mommy, I don't know. When I turned 25 on my birthday, my parents gift me with the choice to pick out a leather jacket, something I had wanted for years. And we spend the entire day at Danier Leather. We remember Danier Leather. And again, it was a full day affair because I paced back and forth the whole time because I couldn't decide between that black leather jacket or the brown one. Guys, I don't know. And even for my own wedding dress, I cut it very close to the date because I could not decide between that slim-fitting classic fit or the big, poofy princess ball gown dress. And eventually I went with the big, poofy princess ball gown dress, which was actually my dream dress, and also, ironically, the very first wedding dress that I tried on. But it took us a while to get there. So in October of 2014, I marry my loving husband, David. And I will just share with you that I did choose to marry David. Yes, I made that decision. It wasn't like I was on some reality TV show, like my favorite one, The Bachelorette, and there I was standing at that altar having to choose between, should I marry David or should I marry Steve? Like, I chose to marry David. And right now, David's like, who the hell's Steve? Now, the day after our wedding, at our post-wedding day brunch, everyone had a comment for us. Hey, that was a great wedding. When are you two having kids? You're a cute couple. You'd be even cuter parents. Now, would you send your child to private school? And you know what kind of people would ask us, of course, over and over again if we were going to have kids? Other parents. That's who. But it was usually parents of little whippersnappers of children, you know? They wanted us to come over to the dark side. People who were so jealous of our freedom that they hoped that we would make the same decision they did. And whenever someone would ask me this, which was consistent, always, a friend, a woman, a stranger asking me, so, will you have a child of your own? It was usually when their little toddler was wiping his snotty nose on my sleeve, and I'd think, you're not selling this to me. Your kid isn't the poster child for me wanting to make this choice. See, David and I were open to the idea of having kids. It was important to me that I had a partner and we were both open to that idea. But I was on the fence about whether to have a baby or not. I had never been one of these women who had a strong maternal instinct, even though I have one of the closest relationships with my own mother. When I talked to my mother about it, it's weird because from that generation, they didn't think about having kids. My mom said it's just what we did. But I never thought about that. I never even dreamed about having a kid. I just didn't worry about it. You know, there was so much I wanted to accomplish, do, travel, and I felt like having a kid was just going to get in my way. Now, another reason I was on the fence about having kids is because I'm one of these women that the thought of childbirth just freaked me the hell out. I had no interest in that, like pushing something out of my body that looked like something of all of my insides mashed together. I was not interested. And I am telling you, the idea of a C-section was not going to happen. I would just leap up from the table and run out the door. I don't care. I'm not doing it. And the last reason I was on the fence about having a kid was because I had been convinced, especially since the age of 19, that I probably couldn't have them. After years of painful periods, I finally at 19 diagnosed myself and eventually by the 9th male doctor that I had endometriosis. Now, endometriosis is a chronic disease that causes pelvic pain and can cause infertility. Basically, the endo tissue grows outside the uterus and it can become quite painful. And then every doctor sort of talked to me and spoke to me like I would never have children. And then David's reason for not being sure if he wanted to have kids was more about the state of the world. Did he want to bring a kid into this world with climate change, the political climate, natural disasters? So we just didn't worry about it. For the first 2 years after our marriage, we just enjoyed each other. We both worked, but we traveled all the time. We were in this honeymoon phase, and it was great, while also continuously being asked if we were going to have kids. And then all of our friends that got married either just before us or around the same time, they all started to have babies. And even though we very rarely saw them, the occasional time when we would go out with them, all they would do was complain and tell us how tired they were, how they missed their old life, how they longed for a night out. And we just thought, you're not selling this to us. David and I were out all the time, living life, having the best time. And then after a couple of years of being married to David, I turned 37. And I thought, all right, if we're gonna actually try to have a baby, if we're gonna do this, I should probably start now. Not that I have any issue with whatever age a woman wants to have a baby. I am also a huge advocate. I love women. If you want to have a kid at 40, over 40, doesn't matter. Do what you got to do. But I just knew with my condition, it was going to get harder. And that's why I forever have a problem with all of these men like Mick Jagger and De Niro having babies at 80. I don't have that option. So we, again, just thought about it. We were kind of like not actively trying, but not actively not trying. It was just sort of figuring out and seeing what would happen. And also when I'm 37, one day I'm in a cafe with my friend Krista. And Krista had just gotten married around the same time that we did as well. And she's about 8 years younger than me. And she says, so are you and David gonna try for a baby? And again, I said, oh, I don't know. I don't think about it. And she's like, well, could you imagine being a woman over 35 who would have a child? That is so wrong. Even though she knows in that moment I'm 37, like if I just magically inhaled my cappuccino and became impregnated, I'd be giving birth at 38. Why would she say that? But again, it doesn't bother me. I just move on. So at 37, I decide to write a new one-woman show. And if you don't know this about me, besides doing storytelling, I also have written and created several one-person shows, which I have performed all over. And usually every time I write a new one-person show, it's when I'm going through a crisis. You can ask me about all my past other one-woman shows. But now I want to write a new one-woman show. I want to write a show about all the reasons and fears about me having a kid. It's about me being on the fence. It's about my fears of being infertile. And it's that we need to stop asking women if they're going to have a child or not. And the other reason I also write this show is because in the midst of writing it, actually, I have a major scare. I notice I'm late. I'm 3 weeks late. And I panic and I run to that Shoppers Drug Mart and I come back and I quickly pour myself a glass of Pinot Grigio because at that point I still can, because I don't know. And I frantically drink it in the bathroom and I pee on that stick. And when I get the result, I'm pacing back and forth. And when the test result comes back negative, I celebrate. I am ecstatic. I mean, a lot of women in their 30s would be over the moon to find out that they're pregnant, but I am so excited that I am not. I mean, this should have been a sign. So back to my show. My show is called All Kidding Aside. Yeah, right? Very clever. Think of the pun. All kidding aside. We get it. All right. So in that show, there is a moment. It's about all these things I talked about. It's a very personal story. It's my journey. It's a comedy. And then there's a moment at the end of the show where I actually step out of the show and very honest and as vulnerable and truthful as I can, I tell the audience that I have become pregnant. I put on one of those t-shirts that says Mom to Be, and I tell the audience that through my creation and writing of this one-person show, I have actually become pregnant. And when I tell the audience that night after night, they leap up to their feet and they give me a standing ovation. And a few of my child-free friends look at me very confused and angry. And then the show goes on, and then there's a moment at the end of the show where I disclose to the audience that I am actually not pregnant. Because my true story was that after months of no period and not being pregnant, I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was eventually told that the reason I wasn't getting my periods is because I had been put on this new medication for endometriosis that stops your period, but no doctor told me that. So I went through this period of not knowing what was going on, thinking maybe I was pregnant. So I tell the audience this. I pull the rug from under them, and it feels kind of mean, but it's also to prove the point that we, again, need to stop having these expectations or thinking that women are better or this because they have kids or not. So I continue to do that show, 37, 38, 39. I'm consistently on the fence about having a kid. And I end that show also with the bathing suit story, how I'm perpetually on the fence and I can't make the choice. And I go on to do the show, and when I do the show, I'm still on the fence. Should I have a kid or not? So standing tonight in front of you, I am very honest in telling you I am 46 years old. And I'll let you know that David and I, we don't have kids. And at this point, let's face it, we won't. And, you know, some decisions you choose or you make, and then some decisions are made for you. We just never really worried about it. We never fully actively tried. I just never got pregnant. I'm still convinced I'm infertile because also I had a very wild life in my 20s and 30s. I made so many mistakes. I've never been pregnant. I don't know. So I just think it wasn't going to work. And I still have endometriosis, but it's manageable, and I'm pretty lucky of how I deal with it. So it didn't happen. And then for years, in my early 40s at the beginning, I used to cry or get very upset anytime someone announced that they were pregnant. But I also celebrated every time I saw a woman in the park with a screaming toddler, or anyone got on a plane with kids, and I went, thank God that's not me. And to this day now, I love my life with my husband. I don't know what I'm missing. We have a great life. I can do whatever I want, when I want. And I don't worry about that decision. I honestly, now when someone asks if I have kids, I can proudly say, no, I don't. Now tonight, Helen invited me to come and speak and share this story. And I will let you know that I was very torn between two stories. I was thinking about that story, but then I pivoted. And I went with this story. And I made that choice. And so for the other story, well, you'll just have to wait for another time. Thank you so much.